Game Informer to shut down after 33 years. GameStop reportedly told them in a meeting on Friday it was closing immediately and they were all laid off. GameStop has announced it is shutting down after 33 years after GameStop reportedly told the publication it was closing immediately. They were all laid off and they would begin receiving severance terms. Game Informer's parent company, GameStop, not Game Informer staff, took to Twitter to share the news, saying, after 33 thrilling years of bringing latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-revolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers, the post continues. While our presses may stop, the passion we have for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end. Kotaku has reported that Game Informer staff was brought into a meeting on Friday, August 2nd, with GameStop's VP of HR. In the meeting, they were told the publication was closing immediately. They were all laid off, and they would begin receiving severance terms. Game Informer magazine content director Kyle Hillard took to Twitter to share more about the shocking news, revealing the team was about 70% done with the next issue and was going to have a great cover. Game Informer video head Alex Van Aken confirmed on Twitter that there are many members of staff who didn't even know what was happening. Game Informer was founded in August 1991 when FuncoLand began publishing an in-house newsletter. GameStop took over Game Informer when it purchased FuncoLand in 2000, and it had become the strongest-running video game magazines in the world. In 2011, Game Informer was actually the third largest magazine in the U.S., with over 8 million copies in the wild. Game Informer's website has been around since 1996. Game Informer's last issue, 367, featured Dragon Age, the Veil Guard, as its cover story, and had yet to reveal what 368 would have been. So, let me see, and let me get comments. Lord Cree goes, sad to see this, but the writing was on the wall, especially after seeing them consistently asking for people to sign up for their printed copies every time I went onto their page. I was always looking forward to my monthly Game Informer, Game Pro, or EGM magazines to come to my mail. Thanks for the memories. And Tag Ibby4 goes, that's weird. I thought they always wrote on paper. And Ilum Naughty goes, 100% that I miss my gaming mags. So we both were subscribed to Game Informer for years. Oh, yeah. I think you were still subscribed till the very end. Were you not?
Pretty much up from like as early as 2018, 2019, give or take. I was subscribed to Game Informer for the second time in about almost 10 years. Almost, it's like maybe at least 7-8 years because I subscribed thanks to my mom. She helped me get subscribed through Game Informer back in 2009, 2008 to like 2013, 2011, something like that. So basically, I had a good run of seeing different eras of Game Informer's magazine coverage, you know. Because at one point, Game Informer's magazine was like that of, you see those regular magazines like the MTV and, what's it called, People's Magazine, like that kind of format. And then Game Informer, as well as like 2012, they started doing with GTA 5, where it's just the one game of GTA 5 cover, that's about it. And that's what they do that for every game for us instead. So I've seen the transformation of the Game Informer going on over time, and it's been a blessing too, so, yeah.
Just want to show something on camera, but it's probably not going to care for people who are listening to the replay. But yeah, this is Game Informer from like 2007, the wow. Ghostbusters one.
Okay.
Also for sale on my store, by the way.
I think I have a Ghostbusters edition as well too. I had to look back. I must have thrown a lot of magazines out back then, though, back in like the 2011, 2010 era.
Yeah, but back to the subject. I was subscribed from 2007. I'm not sure which month because I did sell a lot of my Game Informers, and I do have the rest for sale. But I was subscribed from 2007 to May of 2016.
Okay.
I never broke subscription. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I would get the Edge card or the Power Up reward card was I felt the Game Informer subscription that came with it alone was enough value to get that card. Um, it's just a shame, and I just think it's with GameStop also hemorrhaging money and probably going to become an online reseller just from its warehouse pretty soon. I can't believe they shut down Game Informer.
Yeah, at least the
And the
the
thing is,
email format, you know.
and yeah, and the thing is, they even were going digital, but not all digital. They were saying, that they're um, for people who wanted to read Game Informers on the internet, they could subscribe and get a PDF issue every month if they wanted. They were leaving the choice up. That would have done nothing for me because I only read Game Informers when I was out and about anyway. Um, so I didn't want to have to have a good internet connection to read a gaming magazine. Um, Yeah, but like I subscribed from Game Inform, like I said, sometime in 2007. My last issue I got delivered to my mailbox was May 2016,
Okay.
and when you look through those gaming art magazines, you find a lot of games. The best part was finding games you never knew about, but that were still reviewed by Game Informer, because I mean, gaming magazines were how we heard about games
Oh,
for the
definitely,
most part, at least
definitely,
in the 90s.
especially '90s.
Um, but like I remember Mario Kart Wii, for the example, was featured in a Game Informer, I think as a preview, and it said Mario Kart Wii, and then it said in parentheses working title. The Mario Kart Wii game was originally not going to be called Mario Kart Wii. That was just a placeholder title until they could think of something better, and then Nintendo couldn't think of anything better, so they made that the official title.
Okay.
You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that though unless you saw the preview of Mario Kart Wii in Game Informer.
Definitely.
Uh, so there's that. There's so yeah. So I mean, there were lots of things. There was lots of games that I never would have tried had I not been subscribed to Game Informer. When I joined GameFly, it was hard to come up with like 3 games that I wanted them to keep an eye out on. And GameFly, at least when I was subscribed to them, you could have a list of up to 50 games in queue. Because if you didn't, if they didn't have your number one choice, they would try to send you your number two choice. They didn't have that, they tried to send you your number three choice, and so on.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember, I just went through this when I signed up to Game Fly in 2011. I went through every single Game Informer magazine. What game have I not played yet that looks interesting? Um, and unfortunately, this like Blockbuster, it's another it's another thing from my childhood that's gone, but it's not really for my childhood. It's for my past. Because I never really read Game Informer when I was a child. Um, but it's something from my past that's no longer around,
Oh yeah.
and it's just ridiculous that the company that killed it is hemorrhaging money themselves. Um, so I and then just to drop it on the drop just to drop it by the drop of a hat. Oh, by the way, you're all fired.
Yeah.
That is that is shitty. I know because I was laid off that way before. Um, at the beginning of the year, me and all my colleagues were fired for something that we hadn't done. It was the parent company choice, um, but there was nothing that my managers could do. And I'm still in. I haven't talked to my manager since April when she said that they had work again. And I said, listen, I just started a new job, so I can't. So if I'll come over if this new job doesn't work out, which is my current job now.
Hmm.
Um, but like I said, if I ever get let go for whatever reason, that my former manager is going to be my first call. Um, but so I mean, but like I said, but I was released like that, so I know what that's like. I know what it's like to, and that's not the only time I've been released like that, unfortunately. Um, there was so, but it's just really shitty that Game Informer couldn't give these people more time. I mean, they went in Thursday thinking they had a job. They went in Friday thinking they had a job, and they left Friday not even finding out that they no longer had a job.
Yeah, that's very. It's not as unprofessional; it's also unethical. But at the end of the day, it's the employment at will. That's the law of the land here in the United States. Labor Department of Labor's laws. So it sucks for mainly the employees, but not for the employers though. It's lopsided, but it is what it is so far.
Yeah, so I mean, it is again, that's the risk you take when you work a job. But I just think it's a big slap in the face, not only to Game Informer staff, but Game Informer's readers as well.
Indeed. Because we were buying them at one point. At
Yeah,
least give us notice. But here's the screwed up part. I was buying rented, what call rent, subscribing to the Game Informer as early as 2017, first time years, and then by 2020, 2021, 2020, give or take around the pandemic, they slowed down the production of their Game Informer every 2 months, every 3 months. Then all of a sudden by 2023, I always wanted to watch my issues of magazines, so I called the company or emailed the company. They told me, oh, we cut back on the digital, the print format, and then stick with digital. So that sucked even more. Like it's now they completely closed down the Game Informer. It was like, what the hell? You were doing something for us older gamers. We paid for the service and continue to pay every 2 years, whatever the price was. You know?
yeah. I actually tried to get a job with Game Informer back in 2008, 2009. I wanted to be Game Informer reviewer.
Oh,
I actually sent them my written review of WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2009, and I think Legends of WrestleMania
all
on
right.
360. That my boss at the time was like, he's like, they got the contact info, the editors and stuff. Those people, reach out to them, show them a review. My boss was like, don't tell them that that's your best, just in case they hate it. Um, but definitely send out that review and see, And unfortunately, they never got back to me. Um, I
Understood.
figured they, I figured it would have at least opened lines of communication. Because this is, like I said, this was back in 08, 09 when Game Informer was still going strong and still going strong for at least another decade.
Easily,
Um,
if they put their
yeah,
minds to it.
yeah. So, but yeah, unfortunately, those people. Unfortunately, and the thing is, like everything that was completed is scrapped. So we'll never know what Cover 368 was. We'll never know what the cover story was going to be. We'll never know what was going to be said in that magazine about anything.
Yeah, and at the time too, here's the screwed up part. That if we call it screwed up part, that depends on who you listen to as a reader or a viewer of the magazines. The last 3 or 4 years of the magazine subscription services was had a new director or a new editor in chief for the Game Informer magazine. So that was a sign right there. They were trying to cut costs too, if ever. In my opinion, that is. It's based on my analysis of the matter. Because when I picked up the issue, I forgot which issue it was. Was like it got between like the year 2020 and 2022, later early 2023, give or take that. The new editor said, "Oh, welcome, I'm the new editor, and here's change some things around, but not too much. Such and such. Welcome again. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the community, etc., etc." And then okay, no problem. Maybe they're trying to get fresh new ideas, fresh new perspective on things. And it's been how many years these guys been in business, so it's that'd be a good idea too to have some new people in there too, like you and I, if ever, or like James and
Yeah,
me, or even Angry Joe's show, or Matt Pat even. Like these guys could be a great contributor to Game Informer, and it will help sell more copies if ever too if they were editors or some form of contributors to the magazine, or to at least
right.
the website of Game Informer. That would be great right there. Get YouTube gamers. Of course, you can't control every single YouTube gamer, that's for certain, but at the same time, you got to get people going because Angry Joe, Matt Pat, they get millions of views every month for each of their videos, if not their sales and products they sell over the last how many years they've been on YouTube, and also altogether in there as a business people. So they're getting great contributors. They could be great contributors at this one of those examples alone. It's you gotta keep they
But
gotta keep with the times. They have to.
but
They had to.
the only problem with that is G4 tried that. They had the completionist on their team. They had other YouTubers that they were paying a lot of money to, tens of thousands of dollars. Some guests were getting $30,000 a show, the top ones anyway.
Right.
And um, and look, it became a big expense to G4. So I don't know if So I don't, and the thing is, I don't know if you had someone like Angry Joe or Mr. Matty Plays or any popular gamer YouTuber, um, Dashy, you could throw in there. I don't know if any of them would see an upside for them to be, say, hired by the new Game Informer, let's say,
Really?
for example. Me and you, sure, why not? We can, I can write articles on my day off, um, or my days off. Have a little side gig. Doctor Games 101. He would have a lot more time to write than I would,
In
and
many
we
cases,
both.
definitely.
And I do want to bring up another one. I forget what issue it was, but there was a story where one guy at Game Informer, he wanted to try getting the Guinness Book of World Records by playing video game for 30 hours straight. I don't know if do you remember the story from Game Informer?
Wow, 30 hours straight. That seems kind of small right now at first because there's the people in like United Kingdom work playing 72 hours straight and they get deep vein thrombosis from it, and that was from 15-year-olds back in like 10 years ago, something of that sort. I forgot.
Well, no one. Well, this also they had to prove it. So I mean,
Right.
you and me could say, "Hey, we played Total Extreme Wrestling for 10 days straight." If there's no proof of that, they're not going to take us seriously.
And the news reported it too back in the United Kingdom, like the Newsday here in New York City, they reported that deep vein thrombosis kid that did for 72 hours straight of Call of Duty, something of that sort. So
But anyway,
yeah,
the reason I just want to bring it up because it's a story that I read in Game Informer. It's about the Game Informer staff, so I kind of want to bring light to it since at least I remember it. So a guy went to the Game Informer office. He was a worker at Game Informer, and he basically threw it out to the office. Said, "Hey, listen, I'm going for a gaming marathon, 30 hours straight to get into Guinness Book of World Records. Does anyone want to do this with me?" He thought maybe he'd get one other person to say yeah. He got three other people that said, "Yeah, let's do this." So
okay,
it started at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and they went to Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. That's the time they played games straight in the Game Informer office because the Game Informer office was normally closed during the weekends. So they would, no one would be, um, no one would be distracted or held away from their duties because it was completely volunteer for this.
mm-hmm.
So the guy goes, "Okay, the next challenge was picking a game. We got to pick a game all four of us can play at all times." And they picked Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii. If you play Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii for 30 hours straight, you could probably start a new game with like none of the secret characters unlocked and unlock everything.
Pretty
Because
much.
as far as I know, in Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii, you can either unlock everything by going through the Subspace Emissary story, the single player story, but you can also unlock people just by playing Brawl on a certain stage a certain amount of times. So you just leave the selector stage on random, and you just keep doing matches, doing matches, doing matches. Um, I'd love to know how many things they unlocked if things were left to unlock to begin with, or if they already had everything unlocked from the start. But yeah, they played 30 hours straight Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and they said like for like people who had to go to the bathroom, the other three would continue playing. So they never really took a break from playing because even if one guy was in the bathroom, the other three were still playing. So it's like they never broke. They never broke stride. They were still playing all straight.
Consistently, pretty much.
Yeah, consistently. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Um, and one of the guys that did it, he said like he was working on an article about the new Spider-Man 2 game. Um, the Spider-Man 2, I think the PS5 version. No, actually, that's too recent. So anyway, he was working on a new Spider-Man article about a new Spider-Man 2 game, and then he looks at his clock. It's 1:30 in the morning, and the gaming thing was supposed to start at 9 a.m. He just got up from his desk, went to the couch on the other side of his office, and went to sleep there.
Hmm.
So he could at least get like a close to a good night of sleep before everything started at 9 a.m. Uh, they said I remember they said they ran out of Mountain Dew, which was their caffeine source, around the 10th hour, so they didn't know if they were going to be able to get to 30.
Oh
And
wow.
they said, and they said, and they said by the 30th hour, when they finally hit it at 3 p.m., they were just pushing buttons more than they were actually playing games, which I can imagine. They were up for 30 hours straight, probably on fumes, and they were
Yes.
just pushing buttons, just going through the motions, trying to last till 3 p.m. But they did it. They even had the award to show in Game Informer.
Nice. What's the
And
what's the players' names again? Or at least one of them, at least.
I don't remember. You would
Uh,
have. I don't remember, unfortunately.
okay.
But someone even said in the next Game Informer, a fan who wrote in, that he said he and a couple, three friends were going to try to one up Game Informer by playing Call of Duty Zombies for 48 hours straight. Um,
Okay.
Listen, I like Call of Duty Zombies, not that much.
Oh yeah, not that much either. I mean, I
Um,
want to say it's a zombie, guys. I gotta shoot it. You know, that's right. The name of the game. You know, I'm trying to tell the younger gamers, like, hey, we're playing the fucking zombie game. You gotta shoot the zombies.
right. So I don't know if that guy did it, but the Game Informer staff said, hey, if you want to do that, that's more power to you. But just know it's not as easy as it sounds. It's not as easy as it sounds. That's really the only. I just wanted to bring those up because those are the stories that I remember from Game Informer, even if they're years old.
Hmm.
I remember. Oh, I also remember Chrono Trigger. They said like a sealed copy of Chrono Trigger was like $2,000.
Oh wow.
And like Batman Returns or on Sega CD, it was like going for like $1,000 on Sega CD. When game prices were starting to get that uh, to that rate before the bubble burst. It's like when the bubble was just forming.
Oh yeah.
Because you have a brand new game that's 20, 25, 30 years old. It's like, what truck did this fall off of?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's all I really got to say. You got anything else to add, or want to move on?
I just want to say to you guys that to Game Informer and to GameStop, I understand that for years you've been leaking profits, like you're not getting as much profits you used to and all, but at the same time, the Game Informer was at least your salvage, at least for long term reasons, because people still read from time to time on certain coverage and stuff like that. But I guess there's the fact of YouTube, social media, that took over things visually, audio visually. Now you can see reviews from like different Game Informer employees or IGN employees talk about Catherine from like 2011 rather than reading about Catherine in the Game Informer magazine. I can understand that feeling too. So it's a hit and miss. It depends on who wants to read for how long. Because I used to read a lot of newspapers and books and stuff like that to myself when I was a kid. Instead of reading Game Informer all the time, I was reading like newspapers like New York Newsday and Newsweek and Time Magazine. Whenever I get a chance, I had the money for it at the time. I had to ask my mom for money for the matter. But I also read two other, mainly the newspapers was like $1.50 and 50 cents even. Now it's up to $3 per bag of the newspapers in stores.
Oof.
So the New York Times now got to be at least $3.50 by now because it was $2.50 when I bought it. The last time I bought New York Times in the newspaper format was back in 2014 during the Iraq War situation. Talking about there was no weapons of mass destruction and shit like that were going on at the time. It was that bad big of a news with the conservatives on the internet and all the politics and shit. So I was into that stuff when I was younger, and now obviously I get older. I'm more into YouTube now than ever, and I was see why is that Game Informer is failing. It sucks. I wish they do something similar format called the book like one author did back years back. I forgot what the author's name, but he came on this talk show and talking about that is a book with a video coverage in it called Book in short. It was one of the best innovators of that time, of that kind of that format to make people read more. But that didn't start out yet. After that, it was dead in the water after a few months after he did that. So, if the Game Informer did something to that format, they call it the Vook VOOK, then it'll be like it'll be something different to look at, other than the internet and social media. So that's all I say for the matter with this particular 33 years Game Informer.
Yeah, I do want to bring up one more thing. The reason I stopped subscribing to Game Informer was just because I wasn't reading them. Because I don't really read stuff at home. But the thing is, like I would read it at my job because, like, the down moments at your job, you need something to keep yourself from going to sleep. Um, and I would probably, and if Game Informer was still around, I probably would have resubscribed with this new job I have, just because there are a lot of times where you're just waiting. I'm just waiting for a call to come in to help a customer, but you can't make people call. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just there waiting a lot of times. Sometimes today was actually a lot of calls came in back to back. The flow didn't even uh, stop to like the end, like the last hour, and even then calls were coming in. So, but like there have been Saturdays where I'd be going like 30, 40 minutes without a call. I'd love to have a Game Informer to read, but at that time, see what new games I'll play in my spare time. But that's not happening now.
Oh yeah. If I can say,
Anything that
if I can say more about Game Informer again, there's also times too Game Informer makes some good strides and opportunities that are very profitable in future magazines being sold individually. For example, there's this one magazine that Game Informer did back as well as 2016, if not earlier than 2018, of the top 200 games of all time. One of them was Resident Evil 4, happens to make that list up to like number 20. If people could go back to their records, their magazines, to see the matter too. So it was impressive that Resident Evil 4 was that great of a game to point that Game Informer made it to be this number 20 of the 200. I'm like, damn, if I recall correctly, because I could be wrong about the number itself, but it's definitely in the top 200. That was like, that's some pretty good competition right there among those games. Then happens to be number one was either Legend of Zelda original or one of the RPG games. It was definitely got to be Legend of Zelda because that was the most popular or the most number one thing to talk
I
about.
I think I think Super Mario Brothers 3 was up there as well.
Yeah,
So
I
that
still
might have
got
been
that. I still got that
that
magazine
might
to
have
this day.
that might have been the like number 2 if Zelda was number 1.
Yeah, something
Um,
like that. It got to be the top 25, or Mario 3 especially. But
but
yeah.
yeah, that was issue 200 actually. That's what they did. And like I remember one time E3 top hot 50, the 50 hottest games at E3 that
Mm.
they when E3 was still relevant in 2011.
Was it
Wasn't just relevant.
2011 the top 200 issue?
That I don't remember.
But it got between as early as 2015 all the way to 2017. That's around the
Well,
time when
it's
yeah.
definite. I think it's before 2015. That sounds way too later. Um, it's whenever issue 200 was, to be honest,
I see.
because that's why they did it. Issue 200, the top 200 hottest best games of all time, in their opinion.
Yeah, my magazine of that edition is right next to me on my desk, but I got so many games and stuff on top of it. So my team's trying to get to it. I might must have moved into some other part of the room too as well, because before I put all my games and other stuff on top of my desk and all, I had a clean desk with like another computer on there. It's an old computer, a Sony Vaio computer I could fit on. But I put that in the closet and everything else. But other than that, it's a blessing to actually have an edition too, because I can be a good seller for reselling, that is for hardcore gamers, So
Yeah, especially if it's in good condition.
yeah, hopefully it is a good edition. But I definitely saved on to the Halo Infinite cover of the Game Informer magazine, and as well as Psychonauts 2, which that was a big thing back 2 years ago of Psychonauts 2 release. So it's I've so far played the first hour, hour and a half of that game. It was pretty good. But I want to finish playing the first one though. That's the thing I want to play the most of. So
Ready to move on?
oh yeah, definitely.
Because we got more Game Informer news, but we're not gonna have as many memories down memory road
oh
as we
oh yeah,
just
definitely.
had. So just
I'm
let me.
ready.
Okay, OBS. Turn off my camera so people can see what I'm looking at. Former Game Informer staffer offers an actual farewell. Quote, be well, play well. End quote. Apparently, the goodbye post from last week wasn't written by the magazine's team. An unknown former Game Informer staffer has posted what they consider a genuine goodbye on social media after the magazine surprisingly shattered last week after 33 years. The new message implies that the farewell shot shared on August 2nd wasn't written by anyone at Game Informer. On X, a former Game Informer member wrote that the magazine's legacy deserved better than what was previously issued to the public. The new social media post ends with words from former editor-in-chief Matt Miller, quote, "Be well, play well," end quote. Additionally, two images were attached that show off the masthead from issue 368, which